In all of our episodes that utilize action, we try to actually move the story forward in our action sequences as opposed to just creating explosive eye candy.
Always, to me, the most challenging thing is trying to get drama and emotion within the context of an action sequence, which we try to do a lot. Our show has always had sort of an old school approach to these things. I mean, if we can do it practically, we want to do it practically. In stunts and in special effects, you really need somebody who's done it for a long time.
James Cameron taught me, he goes, I will shoot it real until I can't. Everything I can shoot real, I'm going to shoot it real.
In the opening episode of season 2, Samson and Delilah, we do a pretty spectacular stunt. We flip a car that Sarah is driving and crash it into the LA River.
Joel will lay out what he wants to get done, then he'll come to me and say, Steve, I need this beefed up, the forward quarter panel, or I need this reinforced here. We'll take the cars back to our effects shop, we'll open them up and we'll reinforce them, and we'll have them ready for crash day.
And when we flipped the car, we came up with the idea that Summer would just appear, and Lena would barrel down straight towards her. She'd dive to the side, hit the car, we'd slide it at 45 miles an hour, and we actually used what's called a cannon, and flipped the car over a barrier and launched it 80 feet into the LA River.
That was a big deal, and you know, it involved a lot. It had a lot of moving pieces. We had actors and stunt people, and those two guys, you know, figured out a way to catapult that car.
It took hours and hours to rehearse that, just to get ready for it. And the stunt turned out really, really well.
They really are sort of the yin and yang of how all that action stuff comes together.
In order to really make the scene real, all the other department heads come in. You know, Jim Lima comes in at some point because he's got to actually remove that projectile that shot out from under the Jeep to make it look like it just happened.
The longer you can hang in there where you see it just about to leave his head, you'll beat him anyway.
What a way to start the season. Put my actress in between two real trucks and have one truck smoking the tires.
The glass is Mylar covered. When it blows, Steve has told me that it will blow out towards us, and because it's a boat, it will spread everywhere.
In this sequence, there'll only be 2 stunt people, because what we're going to do for the actual crash, instead of putting a dummy in there, they'll shoot Summer against green screen, reacting to what the impact would do to her. And then that'll be computered, that'll be drawn in later.
3, 2, 1, go!
We got a hold of those trucks and I started carving and reinforcing and bringing them together, and actually fitting Summer for that sequence.
We had designed a full steel cage in between there. We did pre-damage on the truck after the crash with a separate set of trucks where we could put Summer in there, and she was just surrounded. It's like being in a roll cage of a race car.
Some of the parts of the truck I took to the plaster shop and had them cast it out of foam rubber for me, so they were soft for her. But those trucks were actually running trucks.
And the way David shot the close-up sequences, it looked like she was just wedged in there, but it was all prefabricated.
I really loved the day we spent in the water. And we went to this water tank. It's when I followed John off the pier, when he jumps into the water, and Carmina just goes without hesitating, because that's his goal.
Anytime you're working underwater, I tell people, if people aren't comfortable with water, then you need time to train them. If they're not scuba divers, you can't expect somebody to go in there, get on breathing apparatus, and hold their breath
Well, for that final stunt, we had a lot of problems, you know, trying to sync, you know, because it's always good to get, you know, as much of the actor doing it as you can get closer. But I think because of my boots, I had these cowboy boots on that were full of air, and so when I would jump in, it just would automatically flip me over until it filled up. So I had a real hard time getting the feet down.
Garrett Delahunt was very comfortable. He had a couple of scuba training lessons. He took to it like a dog to water. It was not a problem.
They'd tied a rope around one ankle for the moment where I just have to sink and I'm looking up at John. Sorry, when I sink and I'm looking up at John. And it went down to the bottom of the tank through a little eyelet, and then 2 divers on the other end of that rope, and on cue, they just swam their guts out, pulled me straight down. And I think FX did some red eyes, you know, as well. It was just, I don't know why it's fun, because, you know, my head was popping, you're running out of air, but I just had such confidence in the whole team, you know. He never takes his eyes off me. The 4 divers all come, you know, flying in and pull me straight to the top. It was kind of a fun way to spend the day.
Josh is very smart in that aspect of putting the storylines together, because I'll come up with action pieces that fit within what he's trying to convey in the story. How many action pictures have you seen where there's no story and they're just throwing a lot of action? You're bored.
At least that's the thing that's the most important to me, is what are we getting from the characters while these things are going on? Because without it, it's just kind of action porn.